From the car show coming back with a bang to revealing a car that feels like it's from the future, here's everything you need to know about the Grand Tour debuting a flying car. So, the Grand Tour is making a return. And as always, the Three Musketeers, Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May are testing something incredibly unique and crazy. But this time, the car they're taking to the track, or the skies, is something that just outdoes everything they've ever driven. It's the Klein Vision Air Car, which is a two-seater flying car designed by Stefan Klein in Slovakia. Talking about the show, Clarkson stated that there's a dramatic bit on the show with the flying car, which is cool, and also mentioned how Slovakia has produced some amazing cars over the years. He added that whenever he heard the term flying car, he didn't think it would be possible, at least in his lifetime. But never say never, I guess. Jeremy also talked about how he drove that car on the runway and that it felt like a normal car. But then it flew and landed, making it all seem so surreal. Jer also mentioned that the Slovaks are great engineers, so he's not surprised that the car was from Slovakia. I mean, have you looked at the design and development of this vehicle? It's insane. So, Stefan Klein began working on flying cars in the late 80s. He developed Aeromobile, but then he left the company to develop a new idea, the Air Car. After that, he set up Klein Vision with his colleague Anton Zajac, and the rest is history. The main fuselage of this vehicle can act as a two-seat road car. It's got all the bits, 4 large wheels and all. On top of that, the car also looks like a sports coupe. But what happens when you want to take it out for a flight? Well, it's fitted with fold-out wings and extending tail booms that carry a high tail. Then there's a propeller that's permanently installed between the fuselage and tail. And of course, in the case of accidents, there's also a safety parachute installed too. The construction is where it gets really interesting though. So, the chassis is a semi-monocoque of carbon fiber composite over a steel frame, which might not sound too cool, but do you know what it does? 20 programmable motors that are used to help the car transition from a road vehicle to an air vehicle. When the car's on the road, the retracted tail surface creates a downforce that helps it stick to the ground. But while the concept really is exciting, you know what's not? The heart of the car. The engine. This flying car comes fitted with a tiny 1.6-liter engine made by BMW. It runs on gasoline, producing a measly 139 horsepower. I mean, come on, even a Honda Civic has got more ponies than that. And look, it would have been okay if the car was small and all, like a Mazda MX-5, but the problem is, this air car size is similar to that of the Mercedes S-Class. Yep, it's 17 feet long. But the car does redeem itself when it comes to weight. It only weighs 1,100 kilograms, making the power to weight somewhat decent. Yet, it seems that the company listened to all the petrol heads around the world and is now making a prototype that's gonna have a more powerful engine. Yeah, the newer version is gonna have a 300 horsepower engine. That's not all that bad now, is it? The car was certified as an aircraft in January of 2022, but it still needs approval as a road car. With that out of the way, let's talk about what the tiny engine is actually capable of. So, this car needs to be at 120 kilometers per hour, or 75 miles per hour, to be able to take off. But despite that, it still needs to drive on the ground for about 1,000 feet before it can lift off though. The cruising speed is about 170 kilometers per hour, which is a little over 100 miles an hour, and it can go as far as 1,000 kilometers or 620 miles at the height of 2,500 meters or 8,200 feet. It takes the car just 2 minutes and 15 seconds before it can be transformed into an aircraft. But the question is, has it ever been tested? Yes! The prototype first flew in October of 2020, and then in June in 2021. The prototype air car flew for 35 minutes between the Nitra and Bratislava airports. This car really might change the way we travel forever. And on top of that, it's made in a way that it's going to be easy to mass produce and be really efficient. It's going to change the way we travel between towns, saving us a ton of time. Plus, it's been tested under super challenging conditions. And surprisingly, it's shown that it's super stable when it's in aircraft mode. The takeoff and landing were also performed without the pilot touching the controls, which shows just how automated this car is, and just how easy to use it is. Now let's talk about something super cool, super unique features of the car. So, first of all, you won't have to worry about the environment. It's lightweight and efficient, and it's designed to minimize environmental impact. Secondly, the safety measures on this thing are in line with EASA, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency standards. So not only is this a unique sports car, but it's also a safe aircraft. And folks, believe me when I tell you, developing this wasn't easy. The team of 8 highly skilled specialists spent over 100,000 man-hours to convert the design into mathematical models, then to do wind tunnel testing, and then design a perfect prototype. Finally, after all that hard work, they had their car. Now, as I've mentioned, this isn't road legal just yet. But as exciting as all of this is, let's not forget, this isn't the only flying car out there. There's the Terrafugia Transition too. This is a light sport roadable airplane, and it's been under development since 2006. It's powered by the Rotax 912UL, which is an engine for ultralight aircraft. Yet, this isn't nearly as cool as the Air Car, because first of all, it can only fly 787 kilometers, which is just 490 miles. The cruising speed, however, is decent. It can cruise at 170 kilometers per hour, which is almost 110 miles per hour. But all the facts and figures aside, you know what my problem with this car is? The way it looks. No, really, it doesn't look half as cool as the Air Car. It took its first flight in 2009, and then it was delivered to a customer in 2011. Considering that's the one thing that hasn't happened for Air Car, point to transition. But then the production saw delays, and a lot of problems, and the price was jacked up. Earlier, it was just $194,000, and then later on, it was increased to a whopping $280,000. After that, there were a bunch of hiccups here and there, and in 2018, finally things started working out. In July 2018, the company announced a bunch of upgrades that would be incorporated in 2019. This meant that there was a hybrid electric motor now, and lithium-ion batteries for road mode use. There is now a Dynon Electric flight instrument system and a Ballistic Recovery Systems ballistic parachute. And hey, for days when you took the flying car out for a race, it also had an in-flight power boost feature. On the cosmetic end of things, it had a new interior, more cargo space, a better seatbelt design, airbags, and 3 rear-view cameras. And in January of 2021, it even got a Special Light Sport Aircraft, LSA, airworthiness certificate from the FAA. A year later, in 2022, road use approval was going to follow. But just a month after that announcement, in February of 2021, the company laid off most of its employees, closed down operations in the United States, and decided to move to China. After that, Terrafugia then merged with the Chinese drone maker, Aoski, and got into the eVTOL air taxi business. And that was that. So while the transition really did one-up Air Car, the point is, the operations ended, and it just couldn't work out. On top of that, the Air Car just looks cooler now, and maybe that's why it's still around. Having said that, the Air Car is here to stay. You know why? 'Cause it's being featured on the freaking Grand Tour. So in the teaser for the episode, we see the Air Car on the runway, with its propeller moving and the wings are out, with the car accelerating forward. It looks cool as heck, and then eventually, the car lifts off exactly like a small airplane. The entire thing is so stable that Jeremy's jaw drops just as Richard says, "It's flying." Talking about this scene, Richard Hammond himself says that the sequence with the plane is truly epic. Jeremy has also said that the team has had this up its sleeves for about 5 years, and they finally pulled it off. At this point, all I want to know is when the heck can I get my hands on one? And there you have it. From revealing a car that's just like a plane, to the car show coming back with a bang, this was everything you needed to know about the flying car making its debut in the Grand Tour.